If you ever needed proof that a video game mission can feel like a blockbuster movie without taking control away from you, this is it. This is Cliffhanger from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And to this day, it might just be one of the greatest opening missions ever put in a shooter. Not just because it's explosive, not just because it's cinematic, but because it understood pacing better than almost anything that came before it. When Modern Warfare 2 launched in 2009, expectations were ridiculous. They were through the roof. Call of Duty 4 had already redefined the modern shooter expectations. Multiplayer was exploding. Campaigns were becoming bigger, louder, more ambitious. Infinity Ward, well, Infinity Ward could have played it safe, but they didn't. Instead of starting with a giant battlefield or a chaotic invasion, they dropped you into a snowstorm. You're not storming the beaches of Normandy, you're climbing a mountain. You play as Soap McTavish again, now part of Task Force 141, alongside Captain Price, who, by this point, is already a legend. But look at how this mission begins. It's quiet, the wind's howling, your visibility is limited, the world feels hostile before a single bullet is even fired. And that's important because great missions don't throw you into the action, and they don't throw action at you. They build atmosphere first. And Cliffhanger makes you feel isolated. You're high in the mountains of Kazakhstan, it's freezing, snow covers everything. Your movement feels heavier, every step sounds like it matters. And then the climb, you're literally scaling an ice wall. In 2009, this wasn't your normal FPS gameplay. Shooters were mostly about flat terrain and corridor gunfights. But here you are, embedded axes in hand, climbing vertically while storm threatens to swallow you. And one of the key points to take away from all this is it doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels intentional, it feels grounded. The animation sells it, the sound design sells it, the environment sells it. You're not watching a cutscene of someone climbing, you're doing it. That matters. Because immersion isn't about realism alone, it's about agency. And Cliffhanger understands that. Then, upon completing the climb, you're tasked with breaching this base. And this is where the mission shifts from tension to execution. You don't kick the door down screaming, you silently infiltrate the base. You move through snow-covered outposts with your suppressed weapons, coordinating with your teammate that's overlooking every move you make. You're not a one-man army here. You're part of a small group that is tasked with one mission. And this is something that Modern Warfare 2 did exceptionally well. It made you feel like a professional, not a superhero. The stealth section is short, and that is deliberate. It builds confidence before it takes it away. Because the real genius of Cliffhanger is how it escalates. Once inside the base, you need to plant explosives, you need to retrieve the ACS module, and then everything goes wrong. Suddenly, subtle becomes impossible. Alarms blare, enemies flood the compound, snowmobiles are prepped, and what was once a controlled infiltration becomes a desperate escape attempt. That transition is flawless. It's not jarring, it's not random, it's certainly well earned because this mission trained you first. You understood the layout, and to some degree you understood the stakes. Now you have to survive them. And here's where Cliffhanger separates itself from lesser set pieces. The chaos the chaos never feels cheap. You're not surviving because of plot armor, you're surviving because you're fighting, you're moving, you're adapting, you're fighting to survive. The snowmobile chase that follows, that's one of the most iconic moments in COD history. But it's iconic because it maintains control. You're not watching a soap escape. You are steering him down a mountain while gunfire wraps behind you. Rockets explode around you, terrain drops away. You feel speed, you feel panic, and yet the game the game never takes away your hands or your control. That balance between pure cinematic perfection and player control is incredibly difficult to get right. And the balance we got here was just perfect. Many games after Modern Warfare 2 tried to copy this formula. Big explosions, vehicle chases, massive collapses. But what they missed was structure. Cliffhanger works because it has a rhythm. A quiet climb, a tactical infiltration, a precise breach, and then sudden, well, escalation. A full speed escape. Each phase on the just builds on the previous one. Nothing is wasted. Even a snowstorm. It's not just aesthetic. Sure, it limits visibility, but it heightens tension and justifies the chaos later. The environment isn't decoration, it's part of the mission's identity, and that's why it feels so immersive. You're not in a level, you're in a location, and that location matters. From a design perspective, Cliffhanger represents the evolution of the FPS set piece. Call of Duty 4 had already shown that campaigns could feel like a war film, but Modern Warfare 2 pushed that even further by blurring the line between film pacing and gameplay pacing. But here's the key difference: it never sacrificed interactivity, and that's why people still talk about this mission. Not because it had one of the biggest explosions, but because it made you feel like you were in the movie, not watching it. And whilst all this is going on, there's also something else happening here. Cliffhanger reinforces the identity of Task Force 141. This isn't random soldiers in a random war. This is the elite of the elite. This is an elite unit operating globally. It expands the scale of the story. We're no longer just in urban combat zones. We're in frozen mountains retrieving critical tech that could shift global power. The stakes have never felt bigger. Modern Warfare 2 built its campaign around escalation, and Cliffhanger is one of the earliest signs that the sequel was going to be bigger, badder, and better than ever before. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean louder. It's much more varied, it's more ambitious, more confident. The mission design here shows trust. Trust in the player to handle verticality, trust in the player to manage stealth, trust in the player to survive high-speed chaos. It doesn't hold your hand, it lets you operate, and that's empowering. Playing this now, years later, it still holds up. And that isn't just nostalgia pulling at the heartstrings, but it's because the structure is solid, the pacing is tight, there's no filler, there's no unnecessary wandering. Every moment pushes forward, and that's something modern shooters sometimes still struggle with. When chasing bigger worlds and longer campaigns, they lose tightness, and Cliffhanger is pretty tight, focused and disciplined. It doesn't overstay its welcome, it makes its impact and moves on, and that's why it's remembered as one of the greatest missions ever made. It captures that Modern Warfare 2 did it best feeling. It's tactically controlled chaos, it's a precision spectacle, immersion without sacrificing gameplay, and most importantly, it's pure confidence from Infinity Ward. Confidence to start your sequel not with a bang in a city, but with a slow climb up a frozen mountain. Confidence to blend stealth and action seamlessly. Confidence to let the player drive the most explosive moment instead of watching it. Cliffhanger isn't just iconic because it's exciting, it's iconic because it represents a moment in first-person shooter history where campaign design peaked in balance. Cliffhanger is big enough to feel like an opening to a James Bond film. It's tight enough to feel interactive and grounded enough to feel believable. And fast enough to feel unforgettable. When people talk about the golden era of Call of Duty campaigns, This mission is always part of that conversation because it reminds us what these games used to do so well. They made you feel like part of something elite. They made you feel capable, untouchable. They made you feel present. And for a few minutes, racing down a collapsing mountain with explosions behind you, you weren't holding a controller. You were holding the handlebars. You were there. And that's why Cliffhanger still stands as one of the greatest FPS missions ever created. Not just in Modern Warfare 2, not just in Call of Duty, but in the whole entire genre. Cliffhanger doesn't just reminisce with COD players. You didn't have to play the game to know about this mission. There was a buzz around this whole scene of going down the mountain. It flooded internet forums, Facebook groups, whatever you were in at the time, someone would be talking about this mission. And this is why I said in one of the other videos, there's a handful of missions non-COD players can name. This is one of them. And I think if you asked someone that's played Call of Duty as long as I have, if you asked them to pick their favorite mission, I reckon most of them would say Cliffhanger. Or if you ask them to pick a top 5, this is going to be in there every single time. Because it was the perfect way to begin the game. It was just superior. I don't know how true this is about there being a COD movie or a TV series. I don't think there should be a film. I think it should be a TV series, and I think they should just take the Modern Warfare franchise and each mission is an episode. You have got pure TV cinema. It's perfect.